access. With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
7th.
It's finally here.
Beginning this Sunday for 1 month.
SiriusXM Channel 13, Taylor's version. Explore sound.
Some vibes that I love, some songs that I listen to on the regular.
Boundary-pushing hip-hop and R&B from around the globe. Music and culture by Drake.
I always say it's so much deeper than music.
On his exclusive SiriusXM channel.
The one and only Sound 42.
To hear Sound 42, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe, and that's including the eclipse that's coming. It's coming on Monday, so they say, but today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you, if that makes sense to you, and hopefully he didn't split you too wide. I want to say I really do appreciate today's show. It's April 5th, 2024. Really do appreciate that. Love paying homage to my beautiful father who joined the angels. All's friend level. Want to give my daddy some praise. I want to say what I do with Big C Sports Podcast. We have March Madness coming up. I have a special guest coming up that knows a lot about Major League Baseball, runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveball, swung on, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. They love saying the girls love the long ball. and men love to hit deep. And we got a great man by the name of Al Fisher. He understands about hitting baseballs out of the yard, if that makes sense to you. But I want to say what I do with the Big C Sports Podcast. Got some March Madness coming up. The men's Final Four. We have the women's Final Four coming up. And I'm always excited about this time of year. Also, the NBA basketball is coming around that back nine, if that makes sense to you. Teams are trying to jockey for position. You know, I'm the only sports podcaster in the universe. I always pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I'll always do that. But what I love about doing Big C Sports Podcast, going on year number 8, I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We should all use more laughter in our lives. And some of my church buddies, you know, they're getting up there in age. They say, Big C, would you mind a little constructive criticism? I say, constructive criticism is fine as long as it's not destructive criticism. They say, Big C, sometimes you talk too fast. Too fast. And then the next guy say, well, what's your criticism? He say, well, everybody has their own opinion, but I think sometimes you talk too slow, Big C. So Big C's trying to talk the way I talk, all Fred level war. I do want to say the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I even do the play-by-play, as you heard, Big C up the bat. Bases loaded. The count, the pitch, count. Jones, fastball, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love hitting home runs, even if it's on a video game. Sometimes, and you can't tell me you haven't pretended that you were at the home plate trying to be Barry Bonds or Hank Aaron, if that makes sense to you, all friend Levin War. And then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City, and then streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. And then I tell you, I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports with the crew back in the days at Salem Media. Really do appreciate that. And now we have people who miss a day of practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. We have people who miss a day of practice. And I never miss a show, no matter joy, pain, sunshine, or rain. But I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. Some of my religious friends, they don't like when I say, they say, Big C, I've looked all over Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. It says nothing about reparations. I say, you gotta see the future. Book of James 4:2 said, you have not because you ask not. I want to get my reparations. But at the same time, I love paying homage to our military veterans. My father was a veteran, served this country in the Air Force, and still couldn't get the GI Bill, if that makes sense to you. I want to say the Veterans Crisis Hotline, they are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know, anybody going through issues, they are there to get to some help. 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And I know, as far as needing somebody to lean on, when you do with the Big C Sports Podcast, I know we all need someone to lean on. And it's nice when they give you some help. So if any veteran going through issues, there's help out there. I'm going to do everything I can for every Big C Sports Podcast program that God allows me to do, is to give out that Veterans Crisis Hotline. Really do appreciate that. You do a great job of helping people. You know, I want to tell you, I do things unconventionally at times, because I want to make sure that I pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force. As I tell you, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Now, for people who say, well, who are you as a sports show to talk about reparations, Big C? Well, that's my alter ego that wants to ask that question sometime. I'm glad you asked. There was a story done on reparations. It was March 29th, 2023. I got the interview. It was written in the Associated Press by Janie Harr, March 30, 2023. And at the top of the page, it's something that I'm honored to say, because when people say, who gives you the authority to talk about reparations, Big C? I'm going to tell you why. March 30, 2023. Associated Press, picked up by NBC News, ABC News, CBS News, and Fox News. It said California reparations At the very top of the story, it didn't say California Governor Gavin Newsom. It didn't say Secretary of State Shirley Weber. Even though that last meeting was at her Secretary of State building, it didn't say California Senator Stephen Bradford. It didn't even say the chair, Camila Moore. It says Charlton Curry of Sacramento, California, who discusses reparations on his Big C Sports podcast and says that cash payments are necessary. In that money talk, you got to give that some praise. That's why I say I'm able to talk about these things, because I studied it. And I've also met every member of the California Reparations Task Force. If we could get our beautiful black men and women to care as much about reparations as we care about touchdown, home run, three-point play, old man Willie, he's going all the way, then maybe we would get our reparations a lot sooner, like our Jewish brethren, descendants of Holocaust, if that makes sense to you. And I mean that when I say that with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. That's why I love giving out the California Reparations Task Force. Because if I don't do it, a lot of people probably don't even know they exist. And that's one thing that I want to make sure that I'm always a part of. As I grew up as a young boy, I was told not only take out the trash. Well, I took out my help in the trash too. But I was told either lead or follow or get out of the way. And that's what I want to do, championing reparations as the United Nations is talking about it. And other sources are talking about it, along with the state of California talking about reparations. But many of us, we don't even hear much about it unless you follow Big C Sports Podcast. So I will always do my part and make sure that no matter what happens with reparations, I'm going to mention it as much as humanly possible. And I'm making sure that I either lead, follow, or get out of the way. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Give that some praise as I tell you my thoughts on reparations. I want to thank the California Reparations Task Force, because they're brilliant. The chair, Camila Moore, she's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Dr. Amos C. Brown. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He was on the Big C Sports Podcast just last month. He should have received his package by today or maybe Monday from the RDC team. I want to thank California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to thank Council Member Monica Montgomery Stepping. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to thank Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, also professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. Love giving him praise. And I want to thank Attorney Donald K. Tamaki. He's brilliant, part of the California Reparations Task Force. If you join me the way we cheer for sports, I say give them some praise. Give them praise, praise, praise. Because they need to know that somebody believes in the work that they've done. And they can count on Big C Sports. Because I do it every day. I rise and shine. I know some people aren't familiar with that, but I love to rise and shine, and that's why I love giving them some praise. And I will always do that, because when it happens, I really want to be the first person to announce the reparations. It's so important to me. I know we want to talk about the Oakland A's coming to Sacramento, and I'll get on that too. At the same time, I love paying homage to all the great people that are part of the California Reparations Task Force. I want to thank the National Black Wall Street Project also, because they know that a mine is a terrible thing to waste. And everybody has their own thoughts about what they do about it. But I also want to thank Double O. She's part of the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She also has her own economic awareness talk show called Let's Eat. And she says, make sure you say talk show with an S. And I always do that. I want to make sure that I give praise to Brother Aleem Shabazz. He's also part of the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project in Northern California. He runs Crescent Sports Media. We were talking about getting media credentials to cover the Oakland A's when they come to town, because sometimes the mainstream media, they try to shut you out, if that makes sense to you. We will not be denied. What did 2 say in a concert? He said, by any means necessary. That wasn't 2 Live Truth, but see, that was Malcolm X. Okay, but they said the same thing, by any means necessary. We're going to make sure we do that. And I love doing that with Big C Sports Podcast. I also want to make sure that I pay homage to something that's real important before I bring on a special guest by the name of Al Fisher. The man is very talented. He sounds a little bit like James Earl Jones. He probably played Moses in the Ten Commandments. But what I say about what I do with Big C Sports and the RDC team, we have a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth through resource development consulting in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and attorney George Jones. You got to know that every time you get somewhere in life, you got to have someone to hold your hand and attorneys can't hold your hand, especially the good ones. The Missing Link Long-Term Care. Listen up, people. Solutions by the book. Over 3 decades of experience helping seniors get their benefits, Medicare and you, taking care of tomorrow, health care coverage. You got to know the probate out there. They will take all of your assets if you don't have your property in a trust. Why would you work with the RDC team in Big C Sports? Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options and our promise to you. We specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits. And I'm doing the commercial and I do it live, so if I make a mistake, you hear it, but I don't believe I make mistakes. We learn to do the protection of your assets without the spend down. You're talking about Aflac the Duck? No, that's Gap Insurance. With the Big C team and RDC, we learn to help you protect your assets, if that makes sense to you. All paperwork and communications with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescriptions, medical equipment costs, and more. You know anybody dealing with skilled nursing facilities? You know anybody dealing with prescriptions? How about anyone dealing with medical equipment costs and more? Protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. Avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program can be between 10 to 40%. That's egregious. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. The entitlement was signed into law by President Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1966. By his side was the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You got to give them praise. I love giving them praise. So why did we listen to you, Big C, with the RDC team? I told you we offer protection, insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, fixed assets, your bank account, checking account, savings account, your money market account, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, fixed index annuities. Also, variable assets, real estate, qualified money, IRA, 401k, and other investments. And then, not only that, we are endorsed by some great people. Mr. George Jones, attorney at law, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also California Chamber of Commerce Foundation. Mr. Leon Woods, resource development consultant, works with some of the top lobbyists in California. Ms. Cheryl Brown, she's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. Mr. Ray De La Cruz, he's the CEO of RDC Consulting. He's been doing this thing over 33 years. And he also had some endorsements from Mr. Carlson, late Insurance Commissioner Mr. Carlson. Also Mr. Alex De La Cruz, the founder of American Veterans Benefits. And also Big C, Charlton Curry, business consultant development specialist with the RDC team. You got to give that some praise. I'm not just second and driving. There's a lot of people that are endorsing what we're doing, and that's why I love paying homage to Big C Sports and the RDC team. That's important. Make sure you get your affairs in order, because if you don't, then the state will take your assets, if that makes sense to you. You want to know, sometimes I talk about young men walking around with their pants hanging down called the sag look, and I don't like it. I was never allowed to sag when I was a young boy, because sometimes you see the back of their assets, and I don't like to see that stuff. But you know who likes when you're sagging on your will and your trust? You know who likes it? When you're walking around and you don't have your property and your business protected. If you're a business owner, you need to find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. You know who wants to see you walking around with your assets unprotected? It's called the probate court. They love when you don't think you need a trust, because they'll come after your assets. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause as you give me some praise. I'm going to come back with one of the greatest voices in the history of the universe. His name is the great Al Fisher, and he'll be back and drop some knowledge on sports. He's been doing it for a long, long time. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe, and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. Really do appreciate that. I want to sometimes you got to see when the sky opens up and you can see further, because the sky is clear, there's cloudy sometimes, and then you hear this great voice that opens up the sky. Or there's sometimes when the sun is so bright, you need to turn the sun down. You don't have curtains on your window, so the eclipse comes by and it knocks out the sunlight. And then there's times you want to hear a voice. It sounds like Moses. People say, Big C, how'd you get Moses on the Big C Sports podcast? Isn't he spending time with his Heavenly Father? And I say, well, he has a son. His name is the great Al Fisher, because I call him young man. And he says, why you always call me young man? I said, because you sound like Moses. Mr. Al Fisher, how you doing, sir?
I'm well.
I want to just thank you for coming on the Big C Sports podcast, talking to Mr. Al Fisher. And ironically, I met Mr. Fisher at a sports bar back in, I want to say 2015. It was up at Bond Sports Pub and Grub up in Roseville, California, a former football player. And then as you were sitting down there and we were doing our show, I just walked up and said hi to you. Do you recall that day when I think I even asked you, sir, what are you doing? You're such a nice man bringing your daughter out to eat at a sports bar. Your thoughts?
It was actually a good day. I used to do some auctions out at Bud's place.
Yes.
Raising money for various charities.
Yes. And then, can you talk about the auctions that you did, Mr. Fisher? Because not only were you just in auctions, you have so much of a history I want to talk about. I think you're even the first African-American, I want to say TV personality or sportscaster from Rhode Island, if I'm not mistaken. Your thoughts?
I was a newscaster and quite unready for that situation. I had actually did some radio, TV, some disc jockeying work down in Louisiana while I was in the Air Force.
Okay.
And I got out and went looking for, I went home to Rhode Island, and I was actually looking for a radio job, and it just happened that at that time they were looking to integrate the TV side.
Yes.
So I got lucky and was given an opportunity to work in TV, and I became a news reporter and wound up writing and producing the 6 and 11 o'clock news as well.
Wow.
It met a lot of people, and it was a fun gig.
A fun gig. I do want to say thank you for your service. My father was also in the Air Force. It's ironic that I'm talking to you. You both have that same baritone voice that sounds like Moses when you're speaking. So for young people out there that are listening, and nowadays you get media on your cell phone. When I was growing up, you had to wait until the evening news to see what happened in the sports world. Talk about what it was like when you got out of the military and you wanted to get into this business. What was it like to get media? You didn't have it as accessible then as you have it now. Your thoughts?
It's much different. And actually, just recently was able to go to Channel 4 here in Sacramento.
Okay.
And watch my daughter who did the interview. And it's totally, totally different from when I was in the business.
Yes.
When I was in the business, we took a microphone and we took a cameraman with us, and we went out and it was actually filmed, and then we would have to go back to the studio.
Yes.
Process the film, edit it, put it together, and so forth. Now they don't have to do it. Microphone on the tip,
yes.
And it goes directly on there. So
yes.
It's quite a bit easier, but of course now you in my time you could make a mistake.
Yeah.
And just edit it out.
No one knew about it? Wait a minute. You mean I can edit my mistakes?
Exactly. It would never go in the air.
Now you tell me. So talking to the great Al Fisher, one of the pioneers of African Americans in sports in the East Coast, also a United States Air Force veteran. We want to just thank you for your service. And now, Al, obviously you have been around many sports athletes over the years. You told a story that I would love you to tell again. You talked about being around Dodger Stadium playing at a baseball field, and you heard the crowd erupt, and you were acting like they were doing it for you. Give me that story again. You just told me this morning, please. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, let me just preface that with this.
Okay.
I got into the sports business by walking into the Ardent Mall, and I saw a picture of Davy Lopes on the wall, and Davy was my shortstop back in the Babe Ruth days.
Wow.
I did some pitching. And so when I saw it, I looked and I said, oh my goodness, I could do that.
Right.
And the owner of the store heard me, and he said, well, we're buying from out of town. If you can do the memorabilia, we'll buy from you right here, same shipping.
Wow. So
that's how I got into it. But now, prior to that, to show you how things touch bases with each other,
yeah.
Years before that, I was not in the business. I moved to Los Angeles, and Davey was playing second base for the Dodgers.
Yes.
So he of course, when I saw him, he said, "Oh, come." He gave me some tickets, and I'm back behind home plate at the Dodger Stadium.
Yes.
After the game, he takes me down into the locker room, and I'm with Tommy Lasorda and all the guys drinking beer and chit-chatting. And that's quite a bit different from the projects in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yes.
It was real cool. But having played ball, I never asked any of these guys for an autograph.
Wow.
And then years later, I wind up with the same meeting of the picture of Davey, and I wind up getting in the sports business. And now I've been in the sports business ever since I walked into the store in 1994.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Talking to the great Al Fisher, sports memorabilia distributor and legendary memorabilia owner. I met him at a sports bar back in, I want to say, 2015. It was called Bun Sports Pub and Grub. Former Northern California football player. I believe it played for the Niners at one time. But also, I know you talked about meeting Tommy Lasorda, but tell me that story about playing outside of Dodger Stadium and you heard the crowd erupt. Can you go back and tell that story, please?
I'm in L.A., and I go out to the ballpark, and so many things are related to Davey.
Yes.
I go out to a softball, play softball with the guys, and the fella says to me, well, what position do you play? I said, well, I can play any of them. He says, oh, you're one of those guys. He said, well, you umpire. So I umpired. I go home and I umpire.
Yes.
All of a sudden, those brothers walking into the park, it looks, and he sees me. Well, we haven't seen each other in years. He said, Al, what are you doing umpiring? I said, well, I asked to play. The guy says, I told him I could play. He says, yeah, well, what are you doing umpiring?
Yes.
And the guy didn't think I could play, so he told me to umpire. So David's brother says to me, he says, well, hold on, don't go anywhere. He says, I got the next game. So the next game, he brings me in, and I go with it shortstop. First time I come up to bat, I hit a home run.
Was it deep right field, left field, center field? Do you recall which part of the fence it went over?
I remember it quite well. I hit one over the left center field fence.
Oh, okay.
So the next time I come up, I hit one over the right center field fence.
Yes.
But now when the game is over, and the fellow who made me umpire, he says, man, he says, how come you didn't tell me? I said, I told you I could play. You thought I was close.
So not only are we talking to Moses, we're talking to the real home run king, but they didn't see talent right in front of them. The great Al Fisher, sports memorabilia distributor, legendary memorabilia owner. And I want to also ask you, because you met the great late Tommy Lasorda. What was that like, meeting the great Tommy Lasorda? Also, Vin Scully was doing his broadcasting back in the days. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it was, you think about it as a young kid, and you don't think of anything like that.
Yeah.
And these are the people that you listen to on the radio.
Yes.
See about, and hey, man, I mean, to wind up talking and working with these people.
Yes.
it's been a dream come true.
That's so powerful. I know a lot of people, they think about what they want to do in the world of sports. You've been around some of the great icons, Hall of Famers of sports, and mentioning Tom Lasorda. I know you also, Al, talking to the great Al Fisher, sports memorabilia distributor. You also have, you are great, and I'm going to show you respect because I've learned a lot from you. And you know, people talk about how challenging things are. You have persevered, and you actually open doors even for people like me. And I acknowledge that. But you also have an affiliation with NFL players. Can you talk about that? Because not just baseball, basketball, but NFL as well. Your thoughts?
Well, what happened is because of my making memorabilia for the Field of Dream Store, he put on an event and he had an Oakland Raider reunion.
Yes.
And at that reunion was Kenny Stabler, Otis Sistrunk, Jim Otto,
wow,
Fred Volitnikoff, on and on and on. And he puts me in charge of doing the signing. And I had no clue what I was doing.
Yes.
Anyway, I start running the thing, and Otis Sistrunk is there, so I started chatting with him.
Yes.
And we have now become lifelong friends just from that one meeting.
Wow.
But what happened is that Otis, Willie Brown, and people like that kind of took me under their wing and introduced me to various people. For example, I got to meet Glenn Carano, who was one of the owners of the Silver Legacy.
Yeah, up in Reno, yeah.
Yeah, and they've taken me to... I'm just all over the place.
Yeah.
And so it opened so many doors that I was able to, at one time, I was even able to just go over to the Oakland Raider headquarters, sit down in the cafeteria with the fellas.
Wow.
And pay them to sign autographs. And then I would take the autograph photos and plaque them or frame them.
Yes.
And then it led to not only doing it as a business, but it gave me an opportunity to do auctions for people and help raise money for schools, for football programs, for all sorts of things. And of course, having been, an athlete as a kid,
yes,
when you get up in age, you can't play anymore. But I could still be around the game and hang out with some of the greats.
Well, when you hit home runs and left and right field, and they had you playing catcher, obviously they didn't know how to scout talent. And then obviously, go ahead, your thoughts again. Go ahead, please. Go right ahead.
Trust me, that was in softball, not in baseball.
I was trying to build you up, Al. Come on.
Look here. In baseball, I was a halfway decent pitcher, and I did some pitching in the...
Al, I was trying to get you a tryout with the Sacramento A's. Oh, fair level war.
I can tell you this. If the Sacramento A's see me play baseball, they'll move back to Oakland.
Oh, my goodness. See, that's why I call you Moses. Al Fisher, sports memorabilia distributor. Also, some great stories how you got in the media. And I want to ask you one more thing before I get into your thoughts on the Oakland A's now becoming, I don't think they call them the Sacramento A's, they're saying the Athletics. I know you must have run across one of the Mavericks in coaching, an NFL legend, Hall of Famer, the late Al Davis. Can you just talk briefly about if you did have a conversation with Al Davis? You had to get past Al Lucasel first, but can you talk a little bit about what it was like for Al Davis? He was the first one, I believe, that gave a head coaching job to African Americans.
Yes, and a nice man.
Yeah.
He saw me coming into his facility and doing interviews and signing autographs and things.
Yes.
With some of the ball players, and he says, you seem like you know what you're doing around here. He says, just be cool, and you can do whatever you want to do, sir.
That's that's funny.
Actually, I wound up making plaques for the Oakland Raider image stores when they first started their business. I was the very first supplier of plaques to them.
Really? Okay. Well, that's amazing. Yeah. And I'm honored to have you on the Big C Sports podcast. Not only did I learn that you can actually edit your program, thank you. Now I know how to clear some of my own stuff up, but it's all fair and never war. But I'm talking to Al Fisher, sports memorabilia director, legendary and memorabilia owner. I met him at a sports bar back in 2015 doing a live sports show at a sports bar up in Northern California. And now that I know you've met the late, great Tommy Lasorda, the late, great Al Davis, also you're friends with Otis Sistrunk and so many other great players. I know as a person in media, Al, you may look at it differently than a fan that grew up loving the Oakland A's. They have 9 championships going back to Philadelphia, Kansas City, and then out here in Oakland. So they're the team with the most championships in the Bay Area. They're now the last one to leave. How has Oakland lost this great franchise in a history that's only second in championship to the New York Yankees?
It's sad. I assume it has something to do with money and politicians and things of that sort.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to me that a city the size of Oakland can allow all of their sports franchises to leave.
Yeah.
It's surprising. And although I will say this, I'm happy that the A's are coming here to Sacramento, and hopefully that will lead to eventually Sacramento getting their own franchise.
Yeah, Al, they had talking to the great Al Fisher, sports memorabilia distributor, has a voice of Moses. Really do appreciate your knowledge, and not only your knowledge, but you've been in so many great places in front of great people. It's about timing and being in the right place at the right time. Sacramento, California, 20 years ago, maybe 30, they were considered like a farming town. Now we have the Kings. They started in an 11,000-seat arena out by the airport, I think, Arena Boulevard. And then they built the New Arc Arena. I think it was 17,000 seats. And then from that, after about 2 decades with that, they built Golden One Center. And I might say, and I want your opinion, Golden One Center is only here because the former mayor, Kevin Johnson, who went to Sacramento High School in Cal Berkeley, played for the Phoenix Suns, he went to New York, talked to David Stern, and because the Kings were about to leave, like Oakland, their A's were leaving, and he said, if I can help get an arena in Sacramento, would you make sure they stay here? That's when I think the Maloofs were on them. Did you have any run-in or conversation with Kevin Johnson and how he helped the Kings come to Sacramento? Your thoughts?
I have never met Kevin, but I've appreciated what he did from afar.
Yes. Amazing.
It truly is. And the fact that they were able to stay here and turn into what now Golden Arena, and it's an amazing thing. And I remember when I first came to Sacramento, there wasn't much here.
No, it wasn't.
And it has grown tremendously.
Yes.
In the time that I've been here, and to see what's going on, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think eventually one day there will be an all-star game here in town.
Oh, that would be wonderful, Al. That would be wonderful if they could do that. Talking to the great Al Fisher, sports memorabilia distributor, a legendary memorabilia owner, and just the voice. I really love your voice. Sometimes you hear about people who get voice work or training, but I believe you just have that gift from God. Have you ever done any kind of voice work? Because you're cracking my microphone if you don't mind me saying your thoughts.
Well, and the funny thing about it is that when you talk, you hear yourself, but you don't hear what you hear when it comes over the ear.
Yes.
I'll never forget the very first time I was in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I did an interview with Willie Towns of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
And it was played back while I was driving, and I heard it. And I said, I couldn't believe that was me. It didn't sound like me.
Yep. Well, It's a great voice. It's a great voice, Al, Mr. Fisher. And I want to, in a few minutes that we have left, because time goes by so fast talking to you, I want to make sure that I get your personal feelings. Number one, growing up as a young boy, can you just tell young people listening, who was your biggest motivator? And then I want to throw it back to the Oakland A's and how you felt personally about, your emotions about them being maybe ripped out of Oakland or leaving Oakland, but going back to being a young boy when you were just trying to find, maybe playing in sand and playing in dirt. Who was your biggest motivator, Al?
It was somebody that I never met. There were two guys, actually. In the playgrounds, we would play football.
Yes.
I took a sweatshirt and I cut the sleeves off, and I took a crayon and I put number 19 on the back of it.
Yes.
And that was Johnny Unitas.
Johnny Unitas, yep, the great Johnny Unitas.
And Lenny Moore with his spats. And those two guys from afar made me want to play quarterback.
Wow.
And then a baseball really story. I was poor enough that I didn't have a baseball glove.
Wow.
And I went to Little League tryouts with another fellow, and he would catch the ball and throw it to the catcher because he was trying out the pitcher.
Yeah.
And I stood beside him, and he'd hand me the ball, and I'd throw. And all of a sudden, this great big fella comes over to me, and he says, "Kid, what position do you want to play?" I said, "I'm a shortstop." And I wanted to play shortstop because of Pee Wee Reese, who had been a friend of Jackie Robinson.
Yes.
Anyway, the guy says to me, he says, "Well, why ain't you out in the field?" I said, "Well, I don't have a glove, sir." He said, "Well, I've been watching you throw."
Yes.
And he says, "Are you throwing as hard as you can?" I said, "No." He says, "Well, let me see you throw the ball." So I threw the ball. and no kidding, I almost knocked the catcher down. So this fella says to me, he says, "Son, if I buy you a baseball glove, would you consider pitching for me?" And I said, "Yes, sir." and that's how I became a pitcher.
That's amazing. Talking to Al Fisher, sports memorabilia distributor and legendary memorabilia owner. I learned something listening to you. I know you've had to understand the times that we lived in before I get back to the Oakland A's. Jackie Robinson, you ever have a run-in with Jackie Robinson? And what did it do for you as a man of color, an African-American, when they say he liberated baseball, but it was Branch Rickey that brought him in to help bring in more money? Give me your thoughts. What was the emotion like for you when that happened, Al?
Well, it happened when I was just a young kid.
Yeah.
But as I got older, naturally that was still in play.
Yeah.
And, things of that sort, I don't know if it initially hits you right away.
Yeah.
But life hits you.
Yeah.
And each thing that goes on, each thing that happens,
yes,
makes you think, "Hey, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do this." And watching other people do things,
yep.
If you keep your eye open and watch other people do things, you can figure out a way how you can do it yourself, or you could do something else that you want to do.
That's very true.
Yeah. So many people have inspired me.
That's so impressive, Al. So let me go to the back nine now. When I got in the broadcast, I used to work alongside John Madden, the late John Madden, and Pat Summerall. My first gig was at Candlestick Park back with Fox Sports. And from there, that's why I have Big C Sports today. I realized I can do the same stuff, even though I was also doing it in college. But when I met two of the best broadcasters at that time in the business, it made me realize not only could I do it, I was there in the press box at Candlestick Park. Now, I wanna throw that. Have you ever met the late John Madden, Pat Summerall, before I ask you about the Oakland A's and now the Sacramento A's? Your thoughts?
I've met him. I didn't have a long time talking with him, but I certainly have met him.